Ukraine has to take the L here. No, like it sucks. Russia was unjustifiably aggressive, but as an American who doesn't want more wars, we have to make Disney take this deal. No, I mean, I think that Zelensky doesn't have a say in this process at all. Not even from the start. So I think this is more so just like America trying to find a good PR way to get out of this. But like, while that is also somewhat of a proxy, it's not a direct equivalent. Whereas Russia's actions, I say, is irredentist. With the investment into annexation, like permanent territory acquisition, and they seemingly won. They got their desire. Russia lost McDonald's because of this war. Now they're eating healthier, and Trump got scared seeing how low the Russian military's cholesterol results are. Okay, dude. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, is what I mean. It just, like, they talk about how there is going to be a managed resolution, an end to this conflict. You're using words that people who should be understanding aren't. Okay. Russia's interest in Ukraine, in the most charitable interpretation, is to maintain Ukraine, to not allow Ukraine, which is directly its neighbor, to be in the grips of Western influence. Okay? Regardless of what the Ukrainian population thinks, by the way. I'm not talking about like the Ukrainian sovereignty. I'm not talking about the wishes of the Ukrainian population at all. I'm simply saying like Russia's goals was territorial acquisition, halting any sort of like NATO intervention in a country that has proximity to strike the Kremlin, right? They obviously also with Crimea wanted wanted to protect their point of entry into the Black Sea, all that stuff. But that's I bracket that off separately because it does seem like even the European leaders and Ukraine has basically dropped Crimea from the equation. It seems like if they were to give Crimea permanent recognition, like permanent annexation recognition, legal recognition, as is, and say it's like Russian territory, and then in extraction for that, they got the Russians to pull back from like certain Eastern Ukrainian positions, that would be an insanely good proposition. It's just not even going to happen regardless, right? So that's, but it seems like even the Western leadership is on board with that. But overall, I feel like I feel like they're not getting anything out of this, anything out of these talks at all. It's just like Putin getting everything he wanted, and I don't know if there's any alternative to that anyway. I don't know what the alternative is to this. Like, what's the alternative? Because it's not even at a stalemate. Russia was able to acquire even more territory in eastern Ukraine. This pic shows a bit of the map that Zelensky told Trump he really liked. It shows the percentage occupied by Russia. I mean, I can't really see it. I don't get one thing. The West is telling how important Ukraine is for their safety and how important it is to provide them with because they should not lose the war. Why the fuck don't they send their own soldiers then? As long as Ukrainians die, it's a war they should be fought. The fuck? The reason why they won't send their own soldiers is because all of the countries that have the capability of sending military into Ukraine to defend Ukraine, well, one, that would be unimaginably unpopular. Okay, as long as it's just Ukrainians dying and it's they're using Western weapons, then they can manage that. Okay, that's number one. So domestic unpopularity is a major factor here. But the second part of the equation, perhaps the most significant part of the equation, is that if two nuclear armed nations or any nation that is under a nuclear security treaty like NATO were to go to war with one another, like official hot war with one another, that would trigger nuclear holocaust. That would trigger mutually assured destruction. That is the reason why they haven't sent troops into Ukraine. That's the biggest reason. And I think Vladimir Putin knows that. And that's part of the reason why he was able to push and push and push into Ukraine, knowing full well that they would not be able to amount a significant military force to withstand the Russian meat grinder trench warfare technique, where they just basically bum rush further and further into Ukrainian territory because it's a significantly larger country. So NATO, which in other circumstances is supposed to be a security agreement, right, ended up becoming a bit of a problem for American interests, because that way you can't get France or the UK or Germany to send in troops to Ukraine because they're a part of NATO. That way you can't get Turkey to send troops into Ukraine because they're a part of NATO. If the Turkish military is directly in hot battle with the Russian military, all of a sudden Russia and Turkey are in war. If Russia attacks Turkey, okay, then you're triggering Article 5. Now you have a nuclear arms treaty going up against a foreign adversary that it was designed to be that it was designed to threaten, that also has nuclear arms. So in a weird way, NATO actually ends up being an anchor around the weight of American foreign policy, only because Russia was able to succeed militarily. This is why I kept saying, like, one of the weird solutions that I see is like it's not going to happen, but one of the only solutions in this circumstance is, like, if you truly want to militarily defeat, you have to go and fight to defend Ukraine. That's it. You have to send soldiers to defend Ukraine. That's an incredibly unpopular prospect to begin with. That opens you up to Russian counters. That opens you up to going into battle with Russia, and you can't do that when you have NATO anyway. For some reason, I'm skeptical that most NATO countries would actually go to arms if Article 5 was triggered. I feel like a lot of them would try to find some loophole to justify not doing it. I don't disagree with you. I think I've said this before. I don't think America would, like, the American calculation of, like, defending Poland or defending Estonia, Lithuania, any of the Baltic countries does not revolve around, like, genuinely caring about the lives of people that live in the former Eastern Bloc or whatever. It actually is about defending America's military prowess around the globe. And in that situation, if Russia had the smoke, they would just let it go. Potentially. It is crazy that he said he likes this map. Trump says Zelensky can end the war now if he wants to. President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, or he can continue to fight. Remember how it started. No getting back Obama giving Crimea 12 years ago without a shot being fired, and no going into NATO by Ukraine. Some things never change. Trump announced that Ukraine will not get Crimea back and no NATO for Ukraine. Sending troops is one thing, but closing the sky over Ukraine and down the constant barrage of drones would be quite helpful. Why Israel getting this treatment? Because Israel is attacking militant groups that don't have anti-aircraft defenses and a civilian population that these militancy groups are born out of. Russia is a nation state. Like, there is no equivalence here. You know, Israel's toddlers. Okay, Russia does end up toddlers too, but, like, the no-fly zone, like the no-fly zone over Ukraine would only be established with NATO nations coming in and offering defenses to Ukraine with their air forces. That's how you establish it. It's not like a banner that you put over the airspace. It's not like you close the airspace by just putting up a physical dome or something. You literally have to establish it with deterrence. You have to establish it with air forces. And the moment that you do that, it's basically the aerial equivalent of sending military into Ukraine. This would imply that these countries are going into war. It's no different. It's no different than, like, sending troops. Ukraine has to take the L here. No, like, it sucks. Russia was unjustifiably aggressive, but as an American who doesn't want more wars, we have to make Disney take this deal. No, I mean, I think that Zelensky doesn't have a say in this process at all. Not even from the start. So I think this is more so just, like, America trying to find a good PR way to get out of this. What are you even saying, lol? What do you mean? I'm not even. It's not even about like making Zelensky hold the L or something, okay? Because he's already beyond by shitting on Zelensky like the last time he had that meeting. It was embarrassing. It was disgusting. It was up. But I think that also serves a role in basically making it seem like America's washing his hands from this. And it was maybe just the foreign leadership or the former leadership's fault that America's even in this quagmire to begin with. I'm worried that after the war ends, Europe and the U.S. will try to normalize relations with Russia and they will never face accountability. There's really no justice when state actors are involved, huh? Yes. If the West had been even more supportive early on, letting Ukraine use long-range missiles, sending jets, and setting up a no-fly zone, etc., is there any chance this could have turned out differently? No, because no-fly zone was always a red line that they were not going to cross for the reasons that I mentioned. It's like the same as sending military. Do you not understand? You cannot establish a no-fly zone by saying, it's a no-fly zone now. You have to set up military deterrence. And Ukraine doesn't have the capabilities, because they tried, to destroy like Russian air superiority early on. They were able to take out a bunch of, they were able to establish some semblance of deterrence with anti-aircraft weaponry and things like that in the Ukrainian Air Force. But overall, a no-fly zone could only be implemented by Western forces and their Western air forces specifically. And that would require, just like sending military troops on the ground into Ukraine, that would require having, Polish Air Force fly over the Ukrainian airspace to literally shoot down Russian aircrafts. That would be the same as going into direct battle. And as long as Poland and as long as all these other countries are under the security banner of NATO, then that is the maximalist position. It automatically triggers nuclear deterrence. It automatically triggers nuclear retaliation. And that's the reason why they never did it. That's the reason why it was a non-starter. It wasn't even like, no serious person was actually discussing these options.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have the president of Ukraine with us. We've had a lot of good discussions, a lot of good talks, and I think progress is being made, very, very substantial progress in many ways. We had a good meeting, as you know, just a short while ago with the president of Russia. And I think there's a possibility that something could come out of it. And today's meeting is very important. We have, I guess, the seven very powerful leaders from Europe. And we're going to be meeting with them right after this meeting. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. If I can.
This is also interesting. Brian Allen, based on reports, including from those even from Fox isn't denying it, it looks like Trump's Alaska summit went sideways and the staffers like Caroline Leavitt and Steve Witkoff reportedly left ashen and wide-eyed. I wasn't in the room, but if seasoned operatives come out looking like they saw a ghost, that's panic. Whatever Trump agreed to or failed to push back on clearly set off alarms, and judging by the rush of European leaders to the White House afterwards, the damage control started before Air Force One even landed. Having said that, today's meeting with Zelensky and all the European leaders seemingly is much cheerier, which implies that either, there's something in it that we don't understand, that I don't understand, that I don't see, that clearly there's something there that is clearly positive for them, that they think is good, because they wouldn't be faking it. If they actually didn't like the outcome here of this meeting, whatever Donald Trump told them, they probably would say it out loud, right?
First of all, thank you for invitation, and thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war. Thank you. And using this opportunity, many thanks to your wife, First Lady of the United States. She sent a letter to Putin about our children, abducted children, and my wife, First Lady of Ukraine. She gave the letter. It's not to you, to your wife.
Oh, I want it.
Yeah. So we are saying this sensitive topic, yes, please. And thanks to our partners, and that you supported this format, that after our meeting we can have leaders who are around us, UK, France, Germany, Italy, Finland, EU, NATO, all partners around Ukraine supporting us. Thanks to them, and thank you very much for invitation.
Thank you very much for being here.
President Trump.
Do you think it's fair?
Yes, Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. So, President Zelensky, You say, in a post on X today, Russia must end this war, which it itself started. President Trump, you say, President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, which is...
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we're going to have a meeting. I think if everything works out well today, we'll have a trilat. And I think there will be a reasonable chance of ending the war when we do that.
And is this the end of the road for American support for Ukraine? Is today's meeting deal or no deal?
I can never say that. It's never the end of the road. People are being killed, and we want to stop that. So I would not say it's the end of the road. No, I think we have a good chance of doing it. It's been almost 4 years now that a lot of people were killed last week. A lot of people last week. I mean, millions of people killed, but a lot of people last week for whatever reason. A big number, a lot of soldiers, both on both sides. And I know the president, I know myself, and I believe Vladimir Putin wants to see it ended.
And as you met with Putin on Friday, today you've got President Zelensky here. As you listen to Russia and Ukraine, which side has the better cards? Right?
Well, I don't want to say that. I'm just here to be. Look, this isn't my war. This is Joe Biden's war. He's the one that had a lot to.
I'm telling you, like, you look at this and you go, oh, this is Trump just like shitting on Joe Biden. No. This is Trump trying to wash his hands of this equation. The very fact that he did not respond to who holds all the cards as a question, terminology that he has used against Zelensky easily, implies that he doesn't want to admit that he does not have the cards. He does not want to admit that the Western world, all the Western powers, do not hold the cards here. That, as we've said over and over again, as many leftists said over and over again, the conditions, like the end to this conflict, will be defined by what takes place on the battlefield. And what is going down on the battlefield shows that with all of the weapons that were sent to Ukraine, from the Western world, with like all the sanctions that were implemented, Russia has still been able to firmly acquire territory and embed themselves deep into the Ukrainian border and take over 20% plus of Ukrainian territory in eastern Ukraine. It seems like it wasn't enough, and Donald Trump sees that, and he basically wants to hold the L. He wants America to hold the L without saying that he was the one holding the L. You know what I mean? It feels like this is a way for Trump, in the Trumpian way, in the most Trumpian way possible, to say, sure, we lost, but it actually wasn't us who lost. It was Ukraine who lost. It was Joe Biden who brought us into this. I don't think he wants to take a small L to avoid a much larger L, Russia going further into Ukraine. I don't think that's the equation. That's what his argument is. But I think he's just like trying to do a Trumpian exit from all of this. Vibe check. A notably different tone in the Trump-Zelensky Oval meeting. A stark juxtaposition for the first White House encounter. When baited with a question about whether Ukraine or Russia holds the cards, a throwback to the first meeting when Trump said Zelensky doesn't hold the cards, POTUS did not bite. Even the wardrobe issue was addressed by the same reporter who criticized Zelensky for not wearing a suit last time. This time, Brian Glenn, Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend, told Zelensky he looks great. Seems clear neither leader wants to get out ahead of the high-stakes closed-door discussions that will get underway shortly.
Do with this happening, and we want to get it ended, and we want it to end good for everybody. We want it to end good. The people of Ukraine have suffered incredibly.
President Zelensky, are you prepared?
This is the most insane position. I'm a reformed IDF soldier, so I support Gaza because of you. I still support Russia, though. Brother, that is the most insane thing I have ever heard in my life. You got to give that up. You got to cut that. If you were capable of recognizing that Israel is doing a genocide, as someone who lived in Israel, as someone who fought for the Israeli occupying force, you can't be serious about like Russia doing a good job here. This is not a brand new sentence because most people, like, there are a lot of people in Israel that are pro-Russia, okay? Israel is like little baby Russia, basically. But that's crazy. That is a brand new sentence. Something deep in the Israeli psyche that must support war crimes, if not theirs, someone else's. This is a normal position around the world. Yes, it's just not a normal position in Israel. It is the most abnormal position in Israel that you can arrive at, especially if someone is like an anti-Zionist now. They probably are pro-Ukraine as opposed to pro-Russia. Or, well, not necessarily pro-Russia, but like it wouldn't say that like Russia is doing a good job. You know what I mean? Being pro-Russia is the normal position. I've been explaining this to you guys over and over again. Yes, for much of the global South, they literally do not see Ukraine as a country that is stuck between a battle. They don't see Ukraine as like being manipulated and being destroyed in the process. They see Ukraine as a Western proxy. Okay? The pro-Russia, pro-Palestine position is the most popular position in the global South. I try to explain this to Westerners all the time, and they just either don't understand it or they yell at me as though they're saying I'm in favor of this position. I'm not. But if you were to like get out of your bubble, there are probably a lot more people on the planet. So much of the global South is just less enlightened than you. I'm not even pro-Russia, but damn, it's not about being less enlightened. It's about vengeance. It's about demanding vengeance. It's about assuming that the enemy of your enemy is your friend. That's what it is. Because if you've been over by Western forces, whether it be like colonialism in African countries or the United States of America's direct intervention in your country, then you're like anybody that pushes back against this militarily, I'm on board with. It's a campus position that people arrive at because of their experiences. I'm saying that Russia's interest in this is not to like fight Western imperialism, okay? But a lot of people who have been victims to Western imperialism see it as that. So if you want to understand like where people are coming from when you see that, like when you see the Bangladeshi unks with the pro-Russia, pro-Palestine stance, and you're like confused by it, this is the reason. It is funny though, because like even an accurate reflection of like what the rest of the world feels about this, even me like bringing this up pisses a lot of people off, and they act as though that's my position. It's not. I'm just telling you what their opinion is. Okay, I'm not making a value judgment here. I'm just saying this is why they feel the way that they feel. I'm not even saying that it's correct. I'm saying that that assessment is incorrect.
To keep sending Ukrainian troops to their deaths for another couple years, or are you going to agree to redraw the maps?
Thank you for your question. So, first of all, you know, we live under each day attacks. You know that today have been a lot of attacks and a lot of wounded people, and the child was dead, small one year and a half.
I don't think this is a suit. I know this is irrelevant to the grand scheme of things, but I don't think this is a suit. I know it's utterly irrelevant. I think his swag, he looks swagged out. Big dog, you watching K-pop Demon Hunter in theaters this weekend? No, but I did watch it on Netflix. It was awesome.
So we need to stop this war, to stop Russia, and we need support American and European partners. And we will do our best for this. So, and I think we show that we are strong people, and we supported the idea of the United States, personally of President Trump, to stop this war, to make a diplomatic way of finishing this war. And we are ready for trilateral, as President said. This is a good signal about trilateral. I think this is very good. Thank you.
Mr. President,
yes, if the peace deal will be achieved,
I love how Chad is pretending like there isn't a lot of pro-Ukraine and pro-Israel people out there. Yeah, no, that's the other side of this, which is also, again, incredibly incorrect of an assessment to make. But there's a lot of people in the West that are pro-Israel and pro-Ukraine. The numbers have actually diminished now, okay? But it is a common position. At least it's like the only position that Western leadership has. It's the only position that like Western governments have. That is their position. And people will try to justify that by saying like, well, Ukraine was attacked and also Israel was attacked October 7th. But that is that's the other side of the story. There's a lot of people who look at what Russia is doing in Ukraine and say, oh, This is a fight against Western Empire. This is like, finally, you got one country that is like able to militarily withstand and like do revenge to the West, right? That's the way they see it. And then on the opposing side, you have all the people in the Western nations who are looking at like Russia's incursion into Ukraine and are terrified about this. And or you got like pro-NatSec liberals, like pro-NATO liberals who are just saying that they're pro-Ukraine and also literally pro-Israel, not recognizing how insane and how untenable and how utterly hypocritical this position is. Someone being pro-Russia and pro-Israel would be insane. Haven't met one of those. Israelis. I've definitely met pro-Russia and pro-Israel people. MAGA. Okay? Some of the MAGA base are pro-Russia because Russia is fighting woke, and pro-Israel because Israel high. Israel is the Holy Land. Okay? There are pro-Russia, pro-Israel people. They're just called Russians. They're also called Israelis of Russian descent, of Russian background. So, you know, that's definitely not I mean, it's marginal in the grand scheme of things. It's like a much smaller percentage of the population if you adjust it to the entire world. But
You're going to be willing to send American peacekeepers to Ukraine?
Well, we're going to work with Ukraine. We're going to work with everybody, and we're going to make sure that if there's peace, the peace is going to stay long
did you say Tucker Carlson yet? No, Tucker Carlson is no longer pro-Israel. Let's be real.
term. This is very long term. We're not talking about a 2-year peace and then we end up in this mess again. We're going to make sure that everything's good. We'll work with Russia. We're going to work with Ukraine. And we're going to make sure it works. And I think if we can get to peace, it's going to work. I have no doubt about it.
Your team has talked about security guarantees. Could that involve U.S. troops? Would you roll that out in the future?
We'll let you know that maybe later today.
I think pro-Russia, pro-Israel is like the South African, like the white South Africans who left after the dissolution of the apartheid and went to Israel. They're just one note. They don't care who's doing it. They just like war crimes. They just like dominating people. They're like, nah, it's fine. If there's another country, it doesn't matter. Any country that's doing it, I'm in favor of. You know what I mean? Like, there are people that did that, right? There were people in South Africa that after the dissolution of the apartheid in South Africa were like, oh, I'm not going to live in a country full of black people where I can't dominate them. I'm going to another country where I can be a part of the in-group that will dominate the out-group. Instead, I'm moving to Israel. It's kind of like that. They're just like, I like attacking civilian infrastructure. I am in favor of blood and soil narratives. I like it no matter where it's coming from. Okay? I like war crimes. I like blood and soil politics. I'm just on board with it no matter who's doing it. I don't give a...
We're meeting with 7 great leaders of great countries also, and we'll be talking about that. They'll all be involved, but there'll be a lot of help. When it comes to security, there's going to be a lot of help. It's going to be good. They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe. But we're going to help them out also. We'll be involved.
Vladimir Putin mentioned that the war will not end without addressing the root causes of this war. Have you had an understanding what are the root causes of this war?
Well, look, the war is going to end. When it ends, I can't tell you, but the war is going to end, and this gentleman wants it to end, and Vladimir Putin wants it to end. I think the whole world is tired of it, and we're going to get it ended. It was, I've done 6 wars. I've ended 6 wars, and
oh my God. I've ended 6 wars, even more wars than you haven't seen before. And it's like, you can just basically lie about the Congo whichever way you want, because who's going to question it? It's not like people were privy to what was going on anyway. So even if the conflict is still going on, no one is going to investigate this statement. So he can just say it. Just make up new shit. Make up fake countries that don't even exist. Be like, I ended Myanmar. Countries that do exist. I ended Myanmar. I did that. That was me, right? It's not like you got any journalist in that room going, well, that's not true. Why are you saying that? I ended Sudan. I ended it. I ended the Martian war. There was a big war being waged with an asteroid. I ended that too.
But this maybe would be the easiest one, and it's not the easiest one. It's a tough one. A lot of reasons for it, and they'll be talking about it for a long time. But they'll be talking about the others. Look, India, Pakistan. We're talking about.
That's racist. Assuming Americans don't care about wars in Africa. Shaking my head. Yeah, exactly. They don't. They don't.
The big places. When you look at, you just take a look at some of these wars. You go to Africa and take a look at that. Rwanda and the Congo, Republic of the Congo. That's been going on for 31 years. And so we've done a total of 6, and we really have 6, not including the fact that we obliterated, and it turned out to be a total obliteration, the nuclear, as you said, the future nuclear capability of Iran. And this one, I think we're going to get solved also. I feel confident we're going to get it solved.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can you tell us about your conversations with European leaders and
the Republic of condominiums, they're making a Trump Tower.
They need to see to support an end to the war?
Yeah, well, we're going to be meeting with a great representative group and 7 very powerful, very big countries, and great people, all friends of mine and friends of yours. And we're going to have some suggestions made. They want to see peace. They would like to see peace.
They call it Republic of Congo. I call it Republic of Condo. Condominiums, Trump Towers, left and right.
In the red.
President Trump, do you think it's fair to, for Ukraine and for Russia to achieve a lasting and durable?
Yeah, I ended 6 wars is his like Brandonized version of I did NATO. Like that's it. That's it. I'm doing AUKUS, Jack. Except like even though it's like basically the same shit that they're saying, which is an old man rambling. Obviously Trump's rhetoric in this regard is more palatable to the average person. Because like he's saying that he's ending wars. He's saying that he's ending wars, even though he's not. It doesn't really matter. But like people understand that as like a thing that the president is doing.
If Ukraine
Whereas people don't understand when someone says like, I did NATO, I did AUKUS.
It's territories that Russia hasn't yet conquered. Do you think it's a fair peace for Ukraine?
We're going to have a lasting peace. Just to answer the first part of your question, we're going to have a lasting peace. I hope it's going to be immediately. I hope it doesn't have to go on. And I think people of the whole world is going to be very happy when that's announced.
Mr. President, you posted on social media, Mr. President, a very touching letter from the First Lady. And the letter was hand-delivered to President Putin. And it calls for an end to the war, essentially, because of the children and the children's future. Why did the First Lady feel that letter was necessary? Was it because she believes that Mr. Putin is the aggressor in the war? Is a similar letter being hand-delivered to President Zelensky?
So the First Lady felt very strongly. She's watched the same thing that you watch and that I watch. I see things that you don't get to see, and it's horrible. But when she's got a great love of children, she has a wonderful son that she loves, probably more than anybody, including me. I hate to say it, but she loves her son. She loves children. And she hates to see something like this happening, and that goes for other wars too. I mean, she sees the heartbreak, the parents, the funerals that you see on television. Always funerals. We want to see something other than funerals. No, she felt it was a beautiful letter. It was very well received by him, and she did ask me to say, you know, she would love to see this end. She would love to see it end, and she. Says it very openly, very proudly, and with great sorrow because so many people have been killed.
Last week,
Brian, go ahead, Brian.
Yes, sir. I've got a question for each of you.
Yes.
First of all, Mr. President Zelensky, you look fabulous in that suit.
I said the same.
Yeah, you look.
clown show, dude. Clown show. That's what this is. It's a real dog and pony show. A real clown show.
Good. I said the same thing.
Yeah, looks good on
I
you.
said the one that attacked you last time. See, now he's I remember that.
Yeah, I apologize to you. You look wonderful. No, my first question for you, President Zelensky.
In the same suit. You see, I changed, you are not.
Maybe yours. Real quickly, upon peace, God willing we get peace, are you open to holding an election in your country?
Yes, of course. We are open for election, yes. We have to do safety circumstances, and a little bit we need to work in the parliament, because during the war you can't have elections, but we can do security. We need, maybe, how to say, we need a truth, yes, everywhere, in the battlefield, in the sky, in the sea, yeah, to make possible for people to do democratic, open, legal elections.
So you say during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, that's good. I wonder what the fake
you like this idea?
Yeah.
No.
Speaking of news, I got a question for you. This sounds insane for me even to ask this, but do you think the American media really doesn't even want a peace deal because they've seen they've been so critical of you every step of the way as you lead the charge for peace?
It's an amazing phenomenon. I said that if in the settlement you got Moscow, St. Petersburg, and thousands of miles around them, they would say I made a bad deal.
That's not, dog. What are you saying? That is not the deal that is in place. All right, even if I did it, even if I gave, he said, Kievan Rus. Go back, you missed Trump, what Trump said. What?
Do democratic, open, legal elections.
During the war, you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, that's good.
You're right, I did miss that. Even Kaya got up for that one. She changed positions. I like that. I like that. No, I said no new wars, but it turns out if there is a new war, maybe no election in 3.5 years here in the United States of America. Seems great. Seems great. Mexico looking so good. Mexico looking so good. Looking ripe.
I wonder what the
you like this idea?
Yeah.
No.
Speaking of news, I got a question for you. This sounds insane for me even to ask this, but do you think the American media really doesn't even want a peace deal for peace?
If in the settlement you got Moscow, St. Petersburg, and thousands of miles around them, they would say I made a bad deal.
Well, that's not the settlement, is it? That's not the deal, is it? It's the opposite, actually. It's basically the opposite of that deal. So
level of hatred and animosity is incredible. Not with all. I mean, we have great people up here. We also have terrible people up there that I think are told what to say. But, you know, in solving all of these wars, they don't even write about it. You know, I saw major wars. I saw wars that have been going on for 31, 35, and 37, and a couple of quicker ones. One that was going to go into a full-blown deal very quickly. You know what the one I'm talking about. It was a big one. But they don't even write about that. No matter what I do, no matter what, and you know, this is not anything to do with you. It's probably to your advantage in a certain way. But no matter what I do, no matter what deal I make, from my standpoint, you'll come out good. Maybe President Putin will come out good. But they'll say, Trump was absolutely horrible. It's just that, and I've lived with that for a long time. I've lived with it since just before the first election. I used to get great publicity. Now I get the worst publicity anyone's ever gotten in office, but I won in a landslide, so that people understand. They're the only ones that count, ultimately. But I've also had great reporters. I've had journalists that are very good. But it's very sad when you do the right thing. As an example, they said, because of the fact that Vladimir Putin came to American soil this was a tremendous defeat for Donald Trump. No, it was really wonderful that he did it. It was a hard thing for him to do, to be honest with you. It was the opposite of what they said, but they said it. Now, if he didn't come, they'd say that was also bad for Trump. You know, there's no way. And there's just a great dishonesty of the press, and I think that's why it's lost its credibility. You know, its credibility is at an all-time low. We have a thing going on right now in D.C. We went from the most unsafe place anywhere to a place that now friends are calling me up, Democrats are calling me up, and they're saying, sir, I want to thank you. My wife and I went out to dinner last night for the first time in 4 years, and Washington, D.C. is safe, and you did that in 4 days. I'll tell you, it's safe. I had another friend of mine, he has a son who's a great golfer, he's on tour, and he came in fourth yesterday in the big tournament where Scotty Scheffler made the great shot. And he said his son is going to dinner in Washington, D.C. tonight. I said, would you have allowed that to happen a year ago? He said, no way, no way. He said, what you've done is incredible. And I think the people realize it. But the press says, he's a dictator, he's trying to take over. No, all I want is security for our people. But people that haven't gone out to dinner in Washington, D.C. in 2 years are going out to dinner. And the restaurants the last 2 days were busier than they've been in a long time.
Sir, I walked around yesterday with MTG. If you can walk around with DC with MTG and not be attacked, the city is safe.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last week you warned of what you called severe consequences if a 30-day ceasefire or any type of ceasefire were not agreed to by Russia. Will there be severe consequences? Does that change because of
I don't
meeting
think
with
you need a
President
ceasefire. You know, if you look at the 6 deals that I settled this year, they were all at war. I didn't do any ceasefires. And I know that it might be good to have, but I can also understand strategically why, well, you know, one country or the other wouldn't want it. You have a ceasefire and they rebuild and rebuild and rebuild, and, you know, maybe they don't want that. But if you look at the 6 deals that we made peace.
What is the press, dude? Holy shit. It's not. It's not. It's over. The notion that you are going to have a nominally adversarial press team in a press pool is completely gone. It's not happening. It's something that I've noticed, not just in the press. It's something that I'm going to be talking about with Ben Cohen of Ben and Jerry's as well. It's not just the press. Our culture, like corporations and every other institution that previously, at least aesthetically, tried to defend the principles of liberalism, are completely casting all of that aside and becoming servile little mouthpieces for the right-wing agenda of this administration. Some of it is out of fear, and some of it is because they want to make more money and they know Trump will press them. It is unfolding in every part of our lives. Okay? Every aspect of our lives is being dominated by right-wing crybabies, and I don't know if we'll be able to change this dynamic anytime soon, and I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. The media was never adversarial to begin with, or it's just like, or they were only adversarial to Biden on a right-wing basis, but for the most part, they were servile to Biden too. You're a left-wing crybaby. It's really funny that you say this because I have literally, with the exception of a content creator directly issuing a death threat against me and telling his fans to kill me in the streets, I've never asked for deplatforming of another content creator, not even once. As a matter of fact, it's always right-wing content creators who are actively demanding that the FBI prosecute me, that the Customs and Border Patrol throw me in jail for any number of different made-up reasons, constantly demanding that I get deplatformed every single week. So the notion that, like, I'm the crybaby here is idiotic. You've made this up. You're creating an alternative reality because the reality that we all exist in makes you feel kind of shitty and weak and lame and soy. That's it. Anyway. He keeps saying 666. What 6 deals he talking about? Iran, Israel, allegedly Congo, Rwanda, Azerbaijan, Armenia. I think he means India, Pakistan as well. But I don't know how we arrive at 6. Why are you wearing your jacket inside? You're just trying to aura farm? Hell yeah, I am. I have a friend who I recently learned is a D-fan who has always been a liberal and fought against me. I now realize why. He never wanted to talk issues and just wanted to shit on us all amount. Yeah. For many of those people that get their notes from content creators, I try to stay away from that parasocial back and forth, that parasocial drama aspect of things, because I think it's better to be issue focused. But for many people, they simply analyze a lot of this stuff off of content creator drama. They don't actually care about the issues, because if they did, they'd be like, I don't have any issue with this guy. He advocates for the same things that I advocate for. What the fuck are we talking about? Anyway, that's irrelevant. Let's continue.
You know, long-term, long-running wars, I didn't do any ceasefires. Would I like the concept. You know, I like the concept of a ceasefire for one reason, because you'd stop killing people immediately, as opposed to in 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever it takes. But we can work a deal where we're working on a peace deal while they're fighting. They have to fight. I wish they could stop. I'd like them to stop. But strategically, that could be a disadvantage for one side or the other. But all of these deals I made without even the mention of the words ceasefire.
President Zelensky, can you explain the decision to offer Ukraine Article 5 like security guarantees, but stop short of pushing for their full membership?
Yeah, well, we haven't done anything on that yet. If you look back and you go back long before President Putin, it was always a statement that they would never allow Ukraine into NATO. So that was a statement that was made, but we haven't discussed any of that yet. We're going to be discussing it today, but we will give them very good protection, very good security. That's part of it. And the people that are waiting for us, they are, I think they're very like-minded. They want to help out all.
Thank you, President. Thank you, President Trump.
Are you disappointed there's no ceasefire, Mr. President?
The United States has already given hundreds of billions of dollars to this.
Happening, bro? What is, like, they're just like yelling. It's just, do they give the right wingers better microphones or something? Like, what the happened? They're like, they just tune it up. They're like, oh, it's douchey talking. We gotta tune it.
This war effort in Ukraine.
Biden.
At best, it is
Biden.
a stalemate, and the killing continues. So, President Trump, how much more is the United States willing to give Ukraine? And President Zelensky, how much more do you want?
Well, I'll start off just by saying we're not giving anything now. We're selling weapons. This is something before numbers well over $300 billion. That was under Joe Biden, a corrupt politician, not a smart man, never was. By the way, go back 40 years. He was not a smart man 40 years ago either. But now he's in particular bad.
This is MAGA's take on Ukraine, and you said I was wrong? What? That MAGA hates Ukraine, bro? I told you. Yeah, I don't think that's wrong. What do you mean? No, I think there are a lot of Americans. I talk about this all the time. They got duped by like Telegram. There are a lot of Americans who unironically, there are a lot of Americans on the right that unironically think that Russia is actually engaging in a moral war against woke. They see Ukraine as like Fox does still pummel MAGA with anti-Russia sentiment. That's true. Yeah, both of those things are true. Both of those things are true. While Fox News and the establishment Republicans are still very much invested in the quote unquote defending Ukraine unconditionally narratives, even though it's like just so that they can continue sending weapons to Ukraine. There's no like moral interest here. American politics doesn't exist on moral boundaries. The average American, even not just like MAGA people, I think the average American is just like, why the fuck are we giving so much money to other countries? Like, that's their position. Americans are very selfish. MAGA supporters, however, also do have a specific type of reverence for Vladimir Putin. One, born out of Donald Trump's love for Vladimir Putin, and two, because they just got tweaked into defending Russia because they went into the wrong Facebook groups and they went into the wrong Telegram channels, and they turned into people who actually think Russia is fighting a just war against woke and against like Western degeneracy.
This was done by a corrupt administration that shouldn't have been in, and of the And frankly, if the right results of the election were given, if I were president, this war would have never taken place, and he would have been very happy.
Like they make it seem as though like Democrats actually wanted to give money to Ukraine so they can make Ukraine gay. Okay, that's it. They think like Democrats wanted to homify Ukraine, and Vladimir Putin is invading Ukraine to stop the gay, stop the woke.
Because he would have liked to have seen, I mean, they went through hell. He went through hell. This war would have never happened, and the people that were killed, a couple of million people, a lot of people with soldiers and everything else, and the people that have been displaced and forced into other areas and other countries because of what's happened, none of that would have happened. And I'm just saying that he was a horrible president, whether it was the borders or this. He was just a horrible, corrupt president.
Mr. President,
You want to
I can. Thank you so much. So first of all, we have possibility now to buy weapon from the United States. We are thankful for this program and this opportunity. We are thankful for Europe. They pay for this, and through NATO program, for example, Pearl and etc. We have some programs where we can have some money to finance this, and this is a part. I think it's not a part for the war and to defend us. It also will be a part for security guarantees, to strengthen our army, to rearm Ukrainian army. This is very, very important. And it depends how much money we need to rearm. For example, the question of air defense, we spoke about it with President Trump, and I'm happy that we have now bilateral decisions and we work on it with production, American production. Nobody in Europe has so many air defense like Patriots, for example. We need it very much, and this is also about defending.
You know, I think the good news, we make the best military equipment in the world by far. You mentioned the Patriots. How good are they?
Systems.
We have systems, they're literally 100% foolproof, and it's really like shooting two bullets, you know, two bullets hitting each other in the air in a space like this. The chance, 100.
Come on, it's so good. Patriot missile systems, THAAD. We got THAAD. We got missile systems you've never even heard of. Believe it. Aren't our missiles so good? Please buy more. Bye-bye.
It's 99 to 100%. So we sell the equipment to NATO, and NATO does what, I don't know what the arrangement is that you have with, but I know that they want you to have the equipment. And we're getting the best equipment in the world, but they pay us for the equipment. Under Biden, it was just crazy what was going on. I believe the number is over 300. I think it could be $350 billion worth of equipment and money and everything else. And we've made more progress in settling this war in the last 2 months than they made in 4 years. This should have been settled a long time ago, but it should have never happened. Yeah, please.
Real quickly, you pushed out on social media.
All right, Brian, go first.
You pushed out on social media about doing away with mail-in ballots and potentially electronic voting machines. Can you expand on that and how important
Well, that's a very off-topic, just really quickly. Mail-in ballots are corrupt. Mail-in ballots, you can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible that we get rid of mail-in ballots. We're going to start with an executive
guy who was literally shitting on Zelensky for not holding elections. He's a dictator. Now talking about undermining another pivotal part of like American democracy while sitting next to Zelensky only moments after he said, oh, if you get into a war, maybe you can, if you get into a war, maybe you can avoid having an election. How nice. I will think about it. Everything that right-wingers do is good. Everything that they say is bad, or whoever they claim is doing the exact same thing is bad and immoral and wrong. Once you realize the world revolves around this fundamental truth, it makes a lot of this commentary more palatable. This is just truly what they believe, okay? It's good when I do it. It's bad when anybody else I say is bad. And it's woke, it's gay, it's communist.
Order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt And you know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses them because of what's happened. Massive fraud all over the place. The other thing we want changed are the machines. For all of the money they spend, it's approximately 10 times more expensive than paper ballots. And paper ballots are very sophisticated with the watermark paper and everything else. We would get secure elections. We'd get much faster results. The machines, I mean, they say we're going to have the results in 2 weeks. With paper ballots, you have the results that night. Most people, but most people, many countries use paper ballots. It's the most secure form. So between paper ballots, very, very important, paper ballots, and I think maybe even more important, the mail-in voting. We're going to end mail-in voting. It's a fraud. If you have mail-in vote, even Jimmy Carter with this commission, they set it up. He said the one thing about mail-in voting, you will never have an honest election if you have mail-in. And it's time that the Republicans get tough and stop it, because the Democrats want it. It's the only way they can get elected. Because with men and women's sports and with transgender for everybody and open borders and all of the horrible
things that you like, Zelensky, you want to do transgender sports in Ukraine. That's why Putin invaded. Right? You want to do mail-in voting, don't you? Be honest. You want to do transgender mail-in voting, everybody transgender, everything's computer, everybody transgender.
And now the new thing is they love crime. They're fighting me on the fact that I've made Washington, D.C. safe. We're not going to get mugged, beaten up, or killed like all the people you've been watching get so badly hurt. I'm glad, I hate to take your time with this, but I'm glad you asked me that question. We're going to stop mail-in ballots because it's corrupt. You know, when you go to a voting booth and you do it the right way and you go to a state that runs it properly, you go in, they even ask me. They asked me for my license plate, for identity. I said, I don't know if I have it. They said, sir, you have to have it. I was very impressed, actually. But it's very hard to cheat with mail-in voting. As you know what happens in California, it's so corrupt, where some people get 5, 6, 7 ballots delivered to them. Now, we got to stop mail-in voting, and the Republicans have to lead the charge. The Democrats want it because they have horrible policy. If you have mail-in voting, you're not going to have many Democrats get elected. That's bigger than anything having to do with redistricting, believe me. And the Republicans have to get smart. We're not going to have a country. I said for a long time at rallies, you need borders.
Brother, you won. What are you talking about? Oh my God. Oh my God. He is still chirping about this, dude. You won the election, man. What the?
And you need free and fair elections. Those two things. Otherwise, you don't have. We have strong borders now. In 90 days, Mr. President, we didn't have one.
I know. Mail-in voting is incredibly important to Republican control of Florida because that's how old people vote here. I know. He votes by mail. Trump votes by mail. Mail-in voting, universal mail-in ballots, is a prominent fixture of Republican states. Red states have used them in perpetuity. Old people need mail-in ballots. He is not trying to stop mail-in ballots. He's trying to stop mail-in ballots and mail-in voting in blue states. That's it. That's it. Because mail-in ballots make it easier. It's a access thing. And the easier it is to go out and vote, especially when you're a horribly unpopular leader, the easier it is to vote against you and your administration. But once again, as I've literally told you, after criticizing voting by mail, Trump and First Lady request mail-in ballots. They vote by mail. Trump votes by mail. It is so stupid. Dog Hasan, you smelly as shaking my head. I smell awesome. You should ask your mom. She loves the way I smell. It's just so stupid.
0, 0, and 3 months. Not one person came in illegally into our country. In fact, even I find that hard to believe, but it's run by a little bit of a liberal group that put out the numbers, so I guess it's, but 0, 0, and 0.
Mail-in voting is not available in Ukraine. Mail-in voting is only available in 12 countries in the world. It's not safe. 8-month subscriber. What the are you talking about? Do you think the American elections are some of the safest elections around the planet? Okay? American elections are some of the safest, most secure elections around the planet. I cannot defend this position enough. Okay? It is just the truth. The notion that mail-in voting is not safe is insane. Okay? It's also conducted with paper. Paper is the safest method, for the record, before people yell at me, but it is done by paper and it is the safest method. I don't know, it just feels unsafe. Okay, but that's your feeling. You can't just operate off of your feeling. Can we? Can we operate off of your feelings? Don't you think what matters more than your personal feelings and your personal fears is the million different times that this has been endlessly relitigated? Like, do you think that they don't do checks after the election? Bipartisan committees have been launched to investigate the security of our elections. Republican think tanks have tried to tackle this issue to make a claim that American elections are insecure, they're unsafe. Every single time this has been investigated, every single time, the results have always been the same. The results have always been the same. American elections show very little irregularities, and the fake voting, or like the voter fraud narratives, have always been fraught. It's been fraudulent. Look up the Election Truth Alliance, please. Hasan will not look at the fraud. Oh no, we got Blue Anon in here. No, they are not. This was a hacked election. Holy shit. Hasan will not look at all the fraud in the last election. When I said I wanted more hogs, I didn't mean Blue Anon, dude. I want like right-wing hogs. This is crazy. No, I don't want a mythical blue hog. That's like a shiny Pokemon. I want a red hog. I want a hog. I want a real-ass hog. What is happening? What is happening?
You go back a year ago, 2 years ago, millions of people poured into our country. It was terrible. Thank you very much.
International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, IDEA, an intergovernmental organization that works to protect democratic institutions, says that 30 of which allow it for all voters and 22 of which allow it for some voters. Among the countries that allow it are Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, and Germany. Dude, mail-in ballots are awesome. Y'all are crazy. I voted by mail every single time, and I will continue to do so. It is ridiculous. It is a massive convenience. It is great. It is a great system. And if there were major irregularities, okay, then yes, I would advocate to change it.
What security guarantees do you need from President Trump to be able to make a deal? Is it American troops, intelligence, equipment? What is it?
Everything. And really, it includes two parts. First, strong Ukrainian army. That's what I began to discuss with your colleagues. And it's a lot about weapon and then people and training missions and intelligence. And second, we will discuss with our partners. It depends.
Not unsafe does not equal safest in the world. It's one of the safest in the world, okay? And also, like I said, there are never major irregularities in American elections. There are a million different committees and a million different think tanks that want to make it seem like there are major irregularities, have actively and desperately tried to cultivate this narrative, and they have failed to do so because American elections are safe and secure. Holy election fraud, bigger than voter fraud. Exactly. Election fraud is what actually happens in this country. And the way that they do it is by pumping up the narrative that there is voter fraud in this country. America does not have an issue with too many people voting. America has an issue with too little people voting for a multitude of different reasons. But as far as like the Republican strategy on this goes, they lie about election fraud. They just keep repeating that lie over and over again until it is the established narrative. And then they turn around and implement election fraud, election engineering, voter suppression. That is the real issue in this country. The real issue is hurdles placed in front of people that stop them from going out and voting. Okay? That's the real issue. The real issue is not too many people are voting, it's too little people voting. Holy, I cannot believe that there are still people who push this. Even in a progressive community such as this one. Wow. It's crazy.
As on the big countries, on the United States, on a lot of our friends.
And Mr. President, are you willing to commit American troops to that NATO-like protection in order to get President Zelensky to a deal today?
Well, I don't know if you define it that way, but NATO-like, I mean, we have people waiting in another room right now. They're all here from Europe, biggest people in Europe, and they want to give protection. They feel very strongly about it, and we'll help them out with that. I think it's very important. I think it's very important to get the deal.
You've been involved with the peacekeeping in Ukraine since your first day in the administration. What would you say to the Ukrainian people right now who are suffering under the Russian attacks and hoping that the American people will stand with them?
Well, I know Ukrainian people. They're great people. They're smart. They're energetic. They love their country. I mean, they love their country, and we want to get this war ended. That's all I can do. I love the Ukrainian people, but I love all people. I love the Russian people. I love them all. I want to get the war stopped. Very important.
Mr. President, was there any aspect of your discussion with Vladimir Putin that left you disappointed?
Look, we just spoke to, I was just telling the president, I just spoke to President Putin indirectly, and we're going to have a phone call right after these meetings today. And we may or may not have a trilat. If we don't have a trilat, then the fighting continues. And if we do, we have a good chance. I think if we have a trilat, there's a good chance of maybe ending it. But he's expecting.
Trilat is so funny. He's so sick. Oh, we're going to have a trilat. Many people are calling it the trilat. I call it trilat. People call it trilateral. I don't got time for that. I need to be tactical. The trilat. Oh, no. Who told him that? Who gave him the new method? I call it the trilateral, a trilat.
My call when we're finished with this meeting. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys. Let's go right on top of you. Let's go, guys. Thank you. Thank you, press. Let's go. Let's go. Move. Come on, guys. Let's go.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, press. Thank you. Keep moving.
Thanks, guys. Keep moving. Thanks, guys.